Time is running out for Pochettino. Man United have dibs on Memphis Depay. There's a Salah injury update, a roundup of the transfer news, and this week's great debate. All coming up in the next few minutes, as I'm your host, Matt Frodick. You are the Onefootballers, and this is the Daily News. First off, and to Mauricio Pochettino, who is walking on very, very thin ice. We always say that around the international break, managers often get sacked because it gives the club more time to appoint someone new. It doesn't look like this will be the case over the next couple of weeks, but once club football returns, Tottenham face a daunting trip to West Ham. This is daunting because they have not won away since January, and they're also in a London derby, inevitably during which West Ham up their game. If the Hammers do come out on top, it'll be 6 games without a win in the Premier League for Mauricio Pochettino's side, and he could face the sack. Now, there's been so much talk over his future, not only because Spurs are doing poorly, they're currently 14th in the Premier League, but also because Pochettino, in his own right, is a pretty hot property. If he were to leave Spurs, then Manchester United, Real Madrid would probably have an eye on him. Okay, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Zinedine Zidane aren't necessarily facing the sack right now, but when a good young manager like Pochettino comes around, especially to a club that's willing to rebuild, well, it'll be difficult to say no to him. As for what would happen at Spurs, well, they've got 2 options. This is where Daniel Levy, the chairman, really needs to think carefully. If they sack him in mid-season, so whether that's next week, the week after, in a couple of months, the likelihood is they're going to need a short-term fix until the end of the year. Someone like Jose Mourinho and Max Allegri may not be the best short-term fixes, but they are currently a free agent at the moment, which means it'd be easier to get them in. Of course, there is no direct and obvious interim manager to take Pochettino's place should he go. If Levy waits to the end of the season, it could be disastrous. Spurs could finish outside Europe, never mind the top 4, outside the top 6. Pochettino's stock could fall, players could want to leave, and it could just be a disaster. But on the other hand, clubs like Ajax and RB Leipzig, with Erik ten Hag and Julian Nagelsmann in charge, would be much more likely to sell their manager, if that's what we can call it, with the compensation paid in the summer when they've got plenty of time to replace him, and give someone money to build a new squad. It's not as much hassle during the midpoint of the season. It's going to be a difficult call, but whatever happens, things really are not looking so positive at Spurs at the moment, except for the Champions League, where oddly enough, they're actually not doing too bad. But moving on, and to actually one of Spurs' targets in Memphis Depay, and Lyon president Juninho has been having his say on the Dutch forward. Basically, he released some details that Manchester United actually have dibs on a player should he leave the club. This basically means that anytime someone comes in with an offer, they alert Manchester United, and if they make that same offer, they have the first chance to talk to Memphis Depay. Obviously, his last spell at Old Trafford didn't go so well, but since moving to France, he's actually been pretty decent. This year, he's been on fire for Lyon, which is actually even more difficult by the fact that Lyon are actually 14th in Ligue 1. So moving from there to Spurs would literally be a sideways step. Anyway, Dutch boss Ronald Koeman has said that he needs to be playing for a bigger club, massive shade on Lyon there, to get into his plans and stay there and also improve as a footballer. It looks like £50 million could do the trick, and we may see Depay back in the Premier League sooner rather than later. But moving on, and to an injury update from Mo Salah, who has dropped out of the Egypt squad because of that ankle injury that he suffered at the weekend. So within the last few minutes of the game, Fernandinho went in for a challenge with Mo Salah, to which the Egyptian came off the worst and eventually left the field. He was seen with an ice pack on his ankle at the end of the game. This, unfortunately, is the same ankle that was injured by Leicester City's Hamza Chowdhury, and well, Jurgen Klopp's not best pleased about it. He said that basically he's feeling the after effects of that injury from a few weeks ago, and every time I think it's better, a little fluid builds up and things just get worse. I think these 2 weeks off will actually be really good for Mo Salah, and it's probably more precautionary than it is long-term damage. This does raise the question though, do players actually care about international duty? Now, it seems to me, and I'm not saying Mo Salah's in this bracket, but a lot of players drop out of international games, especially when there's pointless friendlies or games which the team could really win without them. Andy Robertson's another one. The Scottish captain is actually pulled out of this squad with a hamstring injury apparently, but he'll definitely be back in the Liverpool squad when they go back to the games at club level next weekend. This is something I don't quite understand, but it does raise the question, what is more important, club football or international football? Now, of course, most players play for their club. They're paid for their club, and so they want to be fit for when the games come around, like most of the Liverpool players would do. But then you've also got someone on the opposite side of the scale, which would definitely piss off their club, and it's Gareth Bale. Forever injured at Real Madrid, but when the international break comes around, he's absolutely fine, 100% committed to giving everything to Wales, helping them to try and qualify for international tournaments. When those tournaments come around, he's also equally fit, ready and raring to go. This would definitely annoy Real Madrid far more than it annoys an international team when a player drops out. What do you guys think now? I'm going to leave a poll right about here so you can have your say whether you think club or country is more important. So next up, we come to a quick roundup of the rest of the day's daily and transfer news, where Eduardo Camavinga, the Rennes 17-year-old startler, is being watched by a whole host of clubs in Europe, including Manchester City. Lyon want former striker Karim Benzema to finish his career back at the club. David Villa, the goal-scoring legend and Spain's all-time leading goal scorer, has announced he'll retire at the end of the current J-League season at the end of next month. And lastly but not least, the quick rise of Rodrigo means that Vinicius Jr.'s playing time is going down and down, and PSG are looking to offer him a way out of his current situation at Real Madrid. So lastly but not least, because it's Wednesday, you guys know we come to the great debate. This is where our Onefootball newsroom put a question to you guys. Our answers are currently in the relevant article in the Onefootball app, but you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And this week's question is, what is your greatest team of the decade? We need 11 players who make up the greatest side, so here are mine. Manuel Neuer in goal, a defence of Dani Alves, Sergio Ramos, John Terry and Marcelo. In the midfield three, I've gone for Modric, Iniesta and David Silva, with a front three, of course, of Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo and Robert Lewandowski. There are basically too many players to choose and so many players are going to miss out, but of course, you let me know yours down below. Whilst you're there, you can also smash the like button and click here or here to check out loads of other videos we've got going on Onefootball. But that's all from me for today, so until next time, I will see you guys later.